You've heard me talk about it a lot on this channel. I like competition, and I think competition helps brands do better for the consumer, you. So let's talk about it a little bit more today in this video. Before I do, though, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell to know when I go live. Trying to get to 100,000 subscribers this year. Thank you to everybody who has subscribed this far. So let's take a look back. I have a bunch of notes here, but you've heard me say time and time again that I want PlayStation and Xbox to be closer, because I think if Xbox is closer to PlayStation, then PlayStation will fight harder for your attention and your dollar. They're doing a good job so far. And Xbox is behind, so they're already having to fight for your dollar. And that's why you get tremendous value on something like Xbox Game Pass, right? Because they have to come up with something. So they did. Let's take a look back, though. So remember, I'm going to do this one pretty casual. So Nintendo comes on the market. They're this massive success. They have amazing games, right? They come in and they stopped a lot of bad habits from Atari, all these other companies. Atari's like just doing whatever at this point because nobody is competing with them. And eventually they just drive the whole brand into the ground, as you know by now. But basically, Nintendo comes along, forces them to change their habits. They end up not, and they get worse and they're gone, right? Later, Sega comes into the picture, though, and Sega has some cool mascots. They have Sonic the Hedgehog, who runs really, really fast, and blast processing. And there's the whole Nintendo versus Sega era, right? Talking about which platform do you like more? The start of the console wars, one might say. But anyway, Sega comes in and they're sort of poking at Nintendo, and Nintendo has to figure out a few solutions. Well, how can we compete? What are some new things we can do? Can we do, what did they do? By the Super Nintendo era, they have Killer Instinct, right? They're trying new stuff. They're trying new IP. And I would like to think that the competition from Sega forced Nintendo to be, or at least try, new and interesting things. And of course, Sega, really aggressive with the marketing. They have to come up with a different strategy with their characters. And we have a lot of beloved characters like Sonic because of it. Then Sega made the Dreamcast, and Nintendo made the, what was it? I want to say that was like PS1, N64 era. So yeah, sort of N64 era. So Nintendo puts out their Nightmare controller. I think the PS1 ends up on the market around that time. I'm going off memory. I don't remember off the top of my head. And Dreamcast comes out, and Dreamcast, man, what a controller. It's basically what the Xbox controller ended up becoming later on. Dreamcast sort of missteps. They over-manufacture and they die. Again, another Atari. But the one thing they got right was that controller, man. They were one of the first ones to really get the shape, get the ergonomics of it, really consider it. Nintendo sort of was there with the N64 controller, but then you had the middle thing where you had the two. It was weird. And Sony eventually comes up with the PlayStation 1. But remember, Sony originally tried to partner with Nintendo, and Nintendo said, nah, because Nintendo just doesn't need anybody. Nintendo has been king since the NES, and they'll probably stay there. So Sony tries to partner with them. They almost did the disc thing. And you know what happened? Because Nintendo tried to get into the market, we got the PlayStation. We probably wouldn't have Metal Gear. Well, I guess we don't really have Metal Gear now because Kojima's not on anymore, but we never would have had the franchise at all. Think of games like Final Fantasy VII, Gran Turismo. Without the PlayStation coming on the market, without that attempted collaboration failure, we wouldn't have got those great franchises from Sony. We wouldn't have got the PlayStation if Nintendo hadn't come on the market. Then going a little bit further, we got the N64, PS1 era. Rumble technology. Basically, that was widely adapted. I don't know who did it first. I think Nintendo held the copyright, and there was this big copyright dispute a few years back. And eventually, every controller has Rumble now. All the technology is there for everybody to use or pay royalties for, however that stuff works. But then Xbox comes on the scene, and things get really interesting. So largely I had a lapse from Super Nintendo era to, so I missed PS1. I missed N64. Like I played it, but like I just didn't have a lot of cash at the time. So I would go over to my friends and I'd play like Star Fox. We would play Dreamcast and PS1. I think we would do the music generator game or whatever on PS1. And yeah. So anyway, then comes like the era where I really got in it. Talking GameCube, the original Xbox, and the PS2. The first console I bought was the PS2 because the PS2 had a DVD player in it. And oh my goodness, that was a good deal back then. I think it was $400 at launch. And I eventually got the Xbox and the GameCube at a like secondhand mom and pop shop because I'm a frugal consumer, and that's why I talk about how to get stuff for cheap all the time, right? When you grow up not having a lot of money, you always look for the best way to get a good deal. And there is nothing wrong with that, let me tell you. Good thing you played Outriders for $1. You want to know why? Because that game launched in a really, really buggy state. It was eating your inventory. And you played $1 to play it. So you were able to, for that first month, when it was really rocky, avoid most of those problems and then whatever, play it. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Anyway, GameCube, Xbox, PS2 era. This is where things really get interesting. The GameCube and all these companies are sort of pushing each other in different ways. Nintendo finally comes up with some cooperative games in what was it? Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles. Xbox comes along with Halo, Ninja Gaiden, Fable, and 2 services that were pretty dang phenomenal. I'll get to that in a second. The PS2 era, for me, God of War, Ratchet and Clank, Sly Cooper, the Thievius Raccoonus. I played all the Grand Theft Autos on the PS2. I played Metal Gear Solid 2. Oh my goodness, what a game. Metal Gear Solid 2, the tanker, the misleading thing into Raiden. I always say their names wrong. I say it wrong for Mortal Kombat. Now I say it wrong for Metal Gear also, but I'll say Raiden and Raiden for Mortal Kombat. But anyway. And then GameCube, Zelda, Metroid Prime, Eternal Darkness. But what else is happening during this time? Xbox comes along. They got an Ethernet port in the back of their console. Dreamcast, by the way, sort of did that. So because of the Sega Nintendo competition, that whole internet thing, Phantasy Star Online and all that, right? Xbox is like, hey, that's a really good idea. Let's put an Ethernet port in ours. That'll be like one way we can stand out. Halo 2 comes out, huge multiplayer success. Rainbow Six comes out, huge multiplayer success. The PlayStation 2 eventually releases their like thing that you add to your console so that you can have Ethernet. I can't remember if the base one had like the phone jack, but I know I played Final Fantasy 11 on my PS2 a ton. So I remember plugging in that thing with a hard drive and playing. So we get Xbox Live. We get a near perfect controller with the Xbox controller, which Sony 3 generations later, finally adapts. Where's my PlayStation controller? Like, here's where we're at today, right? PlayStation controller, Xbox controller. And I think we can all agree that these 2 controllers are damn near perfect. And now Sony has decided to go a little bit forward and add that little extra rumbly in their controller. And Xbox has said, hey, that's really smart. We might do something there too. Another example of competition breeding innovation. It's great. Competition is good for the market, period. It's good for you. It's good for gamers. So anyway, PS3 era comes along. Wii motion controls. I should have taken more notes for the Wii. But here's the thing about Nintendo. This was the era where Nintendo just said, we're going to do something completely different, and Xbox and Sony can fight. And they are constantly. So Wii comes out, motion controls, whatever. They just sort of did their own thing. Wii U comes out next generation. Wii U was sort of a dud, but then they come out with the Switch shortly after, and everybody knows that the Switch is like the hottest thing ever. And it's just like, I think it's the only portable on the market, what has happened with Nintendo being the only portable, being sort of the king of their domain? They haven't really upgraded their online infrastructure very much. They still use this antiquated friend code system. Games for their prices on the digital store basically stay the same for a long time, at the very least. And then they come out with like 5 different versions of the Switch. The latest being the Switch OLED model with a nicer screen, but no other enhancements. So for me, seeing that Valve has the Steam Deck on the way, and a lot of people, like, that thing sold out. So clearly there is a hunger for other options other than Nintendo. Now, Nintendo has some of the most beloved, amazing franchises of all time. And the thing about Nintendo is, even though they don't have the most powerful console on the market, they just don't care. And they learned that in the Wii era. There's like, we're just going to make stupendous games. Stupendously amazing games. That's Nintendo's thing. That's all they do. And all the other stuff sort of doesn't matter. And it seems like, honestly, Sony has sort of adapted that. But anyway, in the Wii U era, PS3, we got Uncharted. Hell yes. We got Ratchet. We got Last of Us, actually. I didn't have Last of Us on the list because I put Uncharted instead. Xbox 360. What do we get? Oh, yeah. So Xbox Live also helped create PlayStation Network. So both the Xbox Live Network and the PlayStation Network, they're a thing that are established in this era. Why? Because all these companies are competing. I don't even know if Nintendo would have went. No, by the Wii, they had gone online, but like, who knows what they would have done. Maybe they never even thought about innovating in that way. They probably did, but yeah, I'm glad everybody's pushing everybody to make their services better. Like, think about PSN when it launched, right? Eventually, you're getting your free games every once in a while. On Xbox is doing the free games thing, etc., etc. And achievements are a huge thing. We have trophies because of achievements. Now I am curious, did Steam do that first? And then Xbox adapted it? Because I don't know. I don't know where all that started. But that is a great little thing. And I feel like the old guy yelling at kids right now. But I believe, like, there's problematic things going on right now. And the reason I repeatedly talk about competition being good is because I think if there are better options out there, it will force people doing things that I don't believe are in the consumer's best interest to be better. And I've talked about multiple times those things that I don't like. Right? So my hope is that through time, we get better consumer services, not at an extra cost. And I truly believe that Xbox is pushing Sony to create better services right now, and Sony is pushing Xbox to create better games right now. And that's great. I think that's a really, really good thing. That's good for everybody. Nintendo, meanwhile, has been on top for so long. Their games are rarely reduced in the digital market. They haven't upgraded their online infrastructure to be better in a long time. Their games on their console still like Apex running at 30 is just insane to me. The fact that their shooters run at 30 are just insane to me. And it works for their audience. Their audience doesn't care. Nobody cares about all the tech stuff that everybody nerds out about online. And, you never see Nintendo in those comparisons between PlayStation and Xbox, because as much as people would like you to believe that Xbox is just like floundering in the water or whatever against Sony, they're still making millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars a year on the brand, right? And Sony's making like, I don't know what, twice that on their brand right now. Gaming is like, we're at the tip of the iceberg for gaming. Gaming's only going to go up from here. And if we start talking about Nintendo has a whole ton of stuff to fix, right? But as an Xbox fan, I'm admittedly an Xbox fan, and I love PlayStation games. Still, Returnal's still my game of the year. Nothing has dethroned Returnal for me yet, and I don't think anything will, unless the only two that have a chance are either Halo or Forza, honestly. Those are the only two that have a chance. And I'm worried, and I've talked about why I'm a little worried about Halo right now. So, yeah. We will see. So what do you think about all this? Have I explained myself in a better way? Do you get where I'm coming from a little bit better? I hope so. Because for me, I like talking about, hey, how can the market be better for the consumer? And that's a good, like, come on. You don't like saving $1? You don't like saving $1 on stuff? Why is that bad? I'll never understand it. Why anybody thinks that Game Pass is a bad thing for the industry, I don't get it. Until we hear concrete proof, not the People Can Fly team saying, we don't know how much money we made. We don't know what the Game Pass deal was. So we think it was maybe some of the deals that were made were bad. They literally don't have any insight into their data, that's a problem, but that is a different problem than what is being manufactured, right? So, yeah. Well, thank you for watching. I just kind of wanted to clarify my stance on why I always talk about this thing, why I think competition is good, why I hope these companies keep pushing each other, because it will make better stuff for you and me. And it's fun to talk about. Thank you so much for watching. If you like these sort of videos, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to catch you for the next one, everybody. If you want to become a member, don't forget memberships are turned on. I appreciate everybody who has joined the memberships thing that YouTube offers. I appreciate you. And I have a merch store. If you want to check out that stuff, check it out in the link below. I'm tired. I'm going to get out of here. I'll see you for the next one. Bye for now, everybody.